Okay, well, we'll make a start by our usual gentle entry. Just standing comfortably and rubbing your hands together, moving your fingers up a little bit, and then tapping very lightly over your face. And then over your head and neck. Down to one shoulder and your arm. Just a little sort of gentle stimulating wake up onto the other side. Getting the blood and the energy flowing a little bit. And kind of drawing your attention into your body, into the lower part of your back. Around your hips. These are useful little practices to remember. They're not, they don't have to be done in any particular order. Down the outside of your legs and up the inside. This is just the order that I generally tend to remember them in, but you go a different way if you want to. Light on your belly and onto the upper part of the chest. Shake out. Okay, so particularly people watching on, if you're watching the recording and you're new to this, please go nice and gently. Go nice and gently anyway, if you're used to this. Give yourself a chance to feel what's going on in these postures, why we do them as much as what we're doing, so that you can begin to find your way into them without sort of overdoing things physically. Standing with your feet directly below your hips. Try and have your weight a little bit forwards and let your hips drop back. Bringing your attention to this middle part of your body and just turning gently in your hips and your waist. Feel the weight of your arms hanging from your shoulders. Just let your arms follow the movement that comes from the centre of your body. People with a little bit more familiarity with these movements may notice not just your arms that respond to the turning in the centre, but very subtle changes in your feet and your legs, maybe your weight distribution. Ideally, your weight doesn't move, but if your weight is moving, it's not a massive error, and at least you can then feel that connection. The basic posture that we want, which is really the foundation for all of the others, is one that brings us into line with the pull of gravity and allows gravity to work down through our body without restriction. So we look for a posture where joints like our knees and our hips have a sort of openness about them. Along with other joints in the body, they're sometimes referred to as energy gates or doorways. And this, a gate or a doorway in a house allows movement. So we don't want to have our knees locked back, but in this particular movement, it's neither is it a deep posture. We do go into the deeper postures, just a slight curve. And to get a sense for why this happens and what we're looking for here, just gently pull your knees back until they start to tighten up, and just feel how that affects the movement through the rest of the body. And we find that everything locks up when that happens. So just this slight drop down actually releases tightness through all of your body and allows a certain space for movement. And there's various aspects to that movement. There's the mechanics of the movement, of course, the muscles, joints, and so on. As a movement downwards, you want your centre of gravity to drop down. Movements like your circulation and your breathing. And very subtly, and hopefully something you'll become increasingly aware of, that downward movement, the pull of gravity downwards, produces a response from our feet touching the ground, our legs, almost like you're in water, and as you sink down, you feel the pressure of the water holding you up. So we reach a kind of neutral position where the downward movement stimulates the upward movement, the upward energy, and we're sort of held in between the two. And that latter, as we become more aware of it, is a really key energy, a really key process in Tai Chi. That sort of production of a kinetic energy upwards through the body that actually starts with this releasing feeling in the body, allowing gravity to draw us down. Raising your arms a little. Hands in a comfortable position, don't overdo the movement. Try and get a sense for how you can move your body in certain ways without adding to the tightness, and ideally, actually in a way that releases that tightness that we feel. And then, letting your hands drop down. Turn one foot out, step straight forward with the other foot. You should be able to see the background here between my legs. We keep this width of the step and just gently push your weight forwards and backwards. So in the upper body, this is like the first exercise that we did, turning. But now we can really feel how that's stimulated, that's generated from the ground, via our feet and our legs, of course. And I come a little bit closer. I'm exaggerating a little bit. I'm not suggesting you bend your knees this much at this point, but you see, I get pulled down in towards the ground, dropping down, and the legs develop over a period of time a springiness, which means I'm sort of being bounced forwards and backwards. So we can really feel that energy being generated in a movement like this. And it's also important that we initiate movement from the ground to maintain the structure of our body. We're far more likely to remain the structure that allows all these processes to happen if we make a point of always moving from the ground. And then on the other side. So these little warm-up exercises, the Power Tree exercises, contain a lot of information for us. And quite often, it's easier to sort of get a sense for what the outcomes of the various processes are when we're moving a little bit faster. So they're useful exercises. They also have a nice sort of gentle aerobic quality and so on. So let's shake out. Useful morning practices, I think you'll find these ones are. So now coming back to the parallel stance, we have our feet hip width apart to give the hips the support of the feet, and just looking for that alignment with the pull of gravity by letting your weight lock gently forwards and backwards in the feet. Imagine standing in water, so there's a little bit of support from the air around you. Still, what will happen is when you go too far, that happens, you wobble around, you stiffen up. That's obvious that that's going to happen, really. But in time, you'll find that you can moderate the movement and eventually just recognize that there's a central point where, again, gravity is pulling you straight down into your feet. Some of you may already have a sense of where that can be, but don't make assumptions at this point. It might take your body a while to settle in. And what we're really looking for here is, one, to get that sense of what it feels like when we're settled. But then, if you're not already there, ideally, bring in your weight a little bit forwards. I'm exaggerating here, so that you can see the tilt now in my body. Obviously, that's going to become uncomfortable. But bringing my attention to lower back, hips, buttocks, I just feel the pull of gravity there, feel the weight of my body there, and allow the hips to drop back. So this is where we get that initial curvature in the knees, in that sense of our centre of gravity dropping. At this point, knees in line with the balls of your feet, hips in line with your ankles as much as possible, and as much as possible, shoulders in line with your hips. And just a feeling of your body settling and of your mind settling with it. So mind and body very much together. Mind, body and energy, the sense of just quietening and settling, allowing the soft tissue of your body to drop down, beginning to feel the inner quality of support. Be aware of your skeleton structures like the pelvis, your rib cage, that continue to support you when we lose some of that tightness and stiffness. Maybe noticing an effect on things like the breathing as you do this. Now, let your hips drop back a little bit more until you feel your legs really want to straighten up a little bit, and so you push up. Feel that rising movement expanding up through your body. And at the top of the movement, before your knees tighten up, once again letting gravity drop down. And then pushing up. As you drop down in particular, we want this feeling of our centre of gravity dropping down, rooting down. But we also find in this exercise very clearly, I think, that sense of the dynamic process that starts with the yielding to the pull of gravity, giving us this sense of a rhythm, a pulse. And that pulse will come to sort of govern all the other movements in the body. The body fills up with a, could be seen as a fresher energy, and as you sink down, just a sense of releasing that stagnant energy. So there's a process of renewal here. You may find that your breathing harmonises with that. Bringing your hands around, and then this time, as you feel your body expanding, letting it push your elbows out. Turn your hands over so there's a ball underneath your arms, let your hips sink. And it's as though you're pressing the ball down. And pushing up. So the exercise is called rooting down. That process and that dropping of the centre of gravity. Remember, when you push up, the centre of gravity stays down, and this really helps the stability of your body, helps the maintenance of that space within your body. And of course we have, as before, joints, muscles and so on moving, movements like circulation and breathing. Maybe just a little bit more aware of that more subtle pulse that, as I mentioned, begins to sort of govern the other movements. Try not to stiffen up in your body. And one of the common images that we use in Tai Chi is the moving through water, because it's very akin in its style of movement. Always remember though, that although the imagery can be very attractive and very useful, noting how our bodies respond to different images, and they can be a very important way of influencing the movements through intention. It's not the case that every image is going to work for you, and it's not a massive failure if an image doesn't work for you. The images are there in the service of the movement, and in particular in the service of the movement and the direction of this subtle underlying energy. So intention, or awareness and intention, are important here. We're not forcing anything. This is not mind over matter. This time, as you sink down, when you get to the bottom, turning your fingers outwards, and the next movement, pushing your arms away from your body. This is the exercise of the wild goose. So the image here of the bird in flight may resonate with you. When you're familiar with the movements, a memory might be a way of stimulating intention. Sometimes intention could just be a very direct instruction to the body. Perhaps that might represent intention at its purest, actually. And these three elements of body, mind, and energy intertwining with each other like the three strands of a rope that are wound together to make the rope stronger, more useful. And then parting the clouds. So in the end, we don't want to really feel a distinction between those three aspects. They intertwine, become, in a way, the sum of the whole being greater than the individual. We might choose to put our attention in one particular area for various reasons, but the overall aim is to have that completed rope at the end of the process. Try and remember and have as a background intention that sense of space within the body as you move. Don't move too far. Now, this time, letting your arms drop down, feeling the weight of your arms hanging from your shoulders. And as you push up, focusing on one side, wind your arm around and pull down. Just dragon plucks the stars from the sky. For a moment, feeling the weight of your arms, the weight of your body flowing down through your hips, and then on the other side, and then down. Once again, don't rush from side to side with the weight of your arms and so on. Give your mind a chance to settle and then push up. Beginning to notice those points in the movement where we can just draw our attention inwards for a moment. This is the stillness within the movement. Very easily lost because of our lively minds and our busy lives. But we find that it will only take a moment just to put the brakes on, just to find that little bit of space. This is one of the great benefits, I feel, of the art. And we achieve that with a cultured awareness that becomes more and more familiar with these tiny details. Now from this position, just come up to that higher position. So that focused, still awareness opens up the possibility of influencing movement within the body, whether that be physical movements or the flow of the energy. Intention becomes important here. But again, don't force anything. This is where the imagery can be quite useful. They can be quite gentle ways of influencing. Bringing your hands to your sides, lightly touching the side of your hips with the inside of your arm. And then lengthening through your back and your spine, pushing up. So still your hips dropping back. So although we're not pushing up and down in our hips, there's still movement, the possibility for movement there. Bringing your hands back, lightly touching the side of your body. Once again, taking a moment just to settle. And then pushing out to the sides, coming back, taking a moment to settle. Maybe finding that here as well, as though you're pushing up against a low ceiling, there's just that little kind of space in the flow of the mind. Likewise, pushing out here. This time, adding extra movements, working through the centre of your body, hips to waist, that kind of area, the area you've just touched. As you push out, you turn, expanding, contracting back into the centre, that moment of settling, and then turn the other way. As your hands come in and touch the side, remember your hips sinking back, so feeling that connection to the ground as well. Pushing out to the sides, just pushing in 4 directions. The rhythm, the pattern of the movement, drawing your attention and your body outwards, but then quite naturally back in, and that moment again of centering, grounding, however you think of it. And we begin to associate those qualities of stillness, being grounded, with an attention to the centre part of the body. It's almost like the place, the location of the stillness. This is pushing in 4 directions. Remember that image of moving through water, if it helps. Sometimes it's said as though the air around us is a little thicker than normal. And increasingly aware of patterns within your body, patterns of movement, pathways of movement, patterns of expansion and contraction, finding their way, permeating deeply into your body, just encouraging this sense of releasing, of opening, of a release of tightness in your body. And again, we can bring an intentionality to those patterns. And in doing so, from the inside out, begin to just influence the whole movement. This time, letting your arms drop down again. Feel that your arms are quite heavy. Focusing on one side, feeling the expansion outwards. Pushing your arm away, elbows slightly curved, fingers back. Swinging your arm up above your head and then straight down the centre line. And then, once again, a slight sense of pushing outwards through the palm of your hand, like you're sliding your hand up a wall or through the inside of an archway. So again, there's a gentle intention here. And then, once again, turning in your hips and your waist. And then changing sides, noticing any difference between one side and another. And again, those inner patterns. Still in that posture where your hips are dropping back, feeling your pelvis almost hanging from your spine, like a bucket might hang from a rope in a round. And then turning in the centre. So that central part of your body becomes, well, central. It's the part of your body that drops into the ground. It's where we feel the patterns of expansion and contraction moving out from and back into. And when we turn, move in the centre of the body, it directs the movement. Letting your arms hang down, and again, the hips and the pelvis, pushing your hips back so your pelvis tilts slightly, and then letting gravity pull them back. Noticing that when we do that, the whole body angles forwards. This is not a back bend. I'm trying as much as possible to keep a fairly straight line from shoulders to hips. Not rigid, and trying not to let your head drop down. And it's the hips going back that are the key to this. If I simply bend forwards, my centre of gravity pulls me forwards. But here, my centre of gravity stays over my legs. It's still a strong exercise, so if you're not used to this, please go very carefully. But here, push the hips back, drop down just a little bit in your knees, and then let gravity pull your hips down and bring your head to the upright and push up. Again, noting the significance of that centre part of the body, the way it responds to the pull of gravity. This time, as you push up, let your arms follow. This is the exercise rowing a boat in the middle of the lake. So you just go as far as you're comfortable moving. Have in the back of your mind still that intention to maintain a sense of space in the body. That's more important than big movements. Now this time, let your hands rest in front of your belly. Turn and then push the hips back so your hands go forwards. Swing across Come back to the upright position and turn to the front. This is polishing the table. And again, it's the movement in the centre that is important from the back, so you can see more of what my hips are doing here. Just where my hips, they swing across. I'm exaggerating slightly again here. Coming under. Once again, the centre of the body governing the movements in the rest of the body. So always our attention is brought back to the centre, ground beneath our feet. One more in each direction. And just come back to standing. Give your feet a little shake. Good. It's important to realise that although these movements are done in a very, what we might call soft way, the changes in posture, although they're very subtle, are very profound. And it's going to take time for your body to condition. So we're also working not just with muscle and tendon and ligament, but with the mind. We're working with the nervous system and so on and so forth. So regular practice means that these processes within the body, these postures, these movements, awareness of the centre, gradually improve for us. And this is where I feel that we get the benefits spilling into our daily lives. Now, going back to the forward posture that we did earlier, paying a bit more attention to this. Feet again hip width apart. Imagine parallel lines going across the floor in front of you. Turn one foot out and step straight forwards with the other foot. So front toes point ahead. You can play around with the angle of this back foot, and as much as possible without straining, facing straight ahead. So, once again, beginning to just move your weight forwards and backwards. Giving yourself a moment on each leg to get that feeling of really dropping down, to feel the leg being loaded by the pull of gravity, and then releasing, moving you. So that those moments of settling, those moments of stillness aren't added extras in these movements. They're not luxuries that we add every now and then. They are actually the doorway to this sense of movement, this sense of energy arising from the ground. So they're an essential part of this. And it's described as the stillness within the movement. It's not seen as something separate. And I think sometimes in our busy lives, we don't always appreciate the significance of stillness. We sometimes pay lip service to, we'll sit down and when we've done X, Y, and Z, we'll sit and rest. But by that time, we're already occupied in our minds with the next set of tasks and so on. Genuine stillness is a fleeting thing. It's just a moment here and there, but it's not a separate thing to activity. We wait until we feel that movement arising. And then when you go into your back foot, just gently raise the front toes and feel how you shift back a little bit more. Go forwards. When you're on the front foot, push your back knee in, and again, you shift. So we gradually find the root, the alignment over one leg. The sort of generic term that covers all the qualities of these postures and the sensations, the qualities of mind and so on, is central equilibrium. The Chinese term is Zhongding. And so now what we're doing is we're beginning to find central equilibrium over one leg. And then go into your back foot and you bring your front foot in, push out, put the heel down, lower the ball of the foot. You notice my foot is now slightly turned out, slightly turned out. You press the foot into the ground, you plant the foot, and you transfer your weight. When you step with the back foot, it's the ball of the foot that goes down first, then your heel, then the planting, and then back. So take your time. This is a wider, shorter than normal step. Almost like you're walking on thin ice and you're just testing the ice before you commit your weight. Trying to maintain that alignment with the pull of gravity and your roots. Now change over. First of all, what we would call fixed step. Notice that there's an urge to rush on, to start raising your toes and your heels, but try and just let that pass you by and go back to an awareness just of this very simple and very crucial process of the weight transfer. People with more experience in this, you should be looking to get 70% of your weight on the back foot. And then when you go forwards, be more like 60 at this stage. So it becomes a very precise exercise. But then when we start to raise our toes and our heel, of course, we shift a little bit more. We can begin to recognize what it's like to be in central equilibrium. What it feels like in the body, what the quality of mind is. Also recognizing that it's fleeting. It's there for a moment and it's gone, but we can get it back again. And these are valuable moments to us. Bringing your foot in, push out, plant. So don't get dispirited if you keep getting distracted. This is normal for us to do that. We have lively minds and busy lives, and this is not an art that suggests that we cut ourselves off from it, but we can touch base regularly. This time, step through, so you can either go forwards or backwards depending on where you have the room. Just giving yourself a chance to experience simple walking for its own sake. Change direction. Notice how your attention is drawn into your center and down into your feet. And bring your feet parallel. Shake out. Okay, so have your right foot forward, so try and mirror my movements. Now we bring the upper body back into this and realise that when we do that, our arms and our hands particularly tend to dominate our awareness, so try not to lose that sense of connection to the ground through your feet. Start with your hands resting on belly, push forwards, feeling that movement from the back foot. Let that movement push your elbows out, like a wave coming through your body, and that gradually expands, separating your arms elbows hanging down, the hands no higher than shoulder height. And then the wave comes from the back foot and you get drawn into your back. The wave comes from the front foot, I should have said there. So this is pigeon spreads its wings. Feeling the expansion rising up through belly, through solar plexus, into your chest and your ribs. A pattern that really you want to try and feel in all of the movements, including things like our breathing. What you might find you're able to do, if it's comfortable for you, is round about here, just take a breath in, see how that feels. If it doesn't feel right, then don't force it. Sometimes we can just get that sense of, again, you know, the movement and the breathing beginning to harmonise a little bit. Your arms stay in front of your body, don't pull them back like this, but it's still a very strong expansion. This time, when you sink back, let your hands drop down. Feel the weight of your arms hanging from your shoulders, knees forwards, and as you settle in the front foot, let your arms swing through. And then back. This is fisherman cast net. See, here, my arms following the shoulders until I reach that front leg. Same going back. And your arms just swinging quite naturally through a gentle curve. So fisherman cast a net, a wave-like movement once again through your body. This time, bring your hands back in front of your hips, turn the palms forwards, and then the movement pushes your arms forwards and they gently curve up. This is called pushing wave. Again. So a slightly stronger quality to this. Slightly denser, more resilient feel in the energy. This time, as you arrive in the front leg, turn, let your arms flatten out a little bit. Coming back, let your hands drop down, your body contracting, and as you settle into your back foot, expanding and turning, pushing your arms out again. Your arms moving a little bit like they do in the wild goose, but this is the exercise Wind Blows the Willows. Willow tree is a common symbol in these arts. Willow tree is said to have very deep roots. Wood that is strong and supple. The willow tree is said to bend in the wind that might otherwise blow other trees over. Here we find the whole process. We're told that in Tai Chi in particular, the movement is rooted in our feet, that process of rooting down. Release through our legs, and here we can feel the release clearly in the weight transfer. Governed directed through the center of the body, as we've seen in many different ways, and then expressed in our upper body and arms. Good. So that's a reversal of how we often see our bodies, not how we just unconsciously perceive movement and posture and so on and so forth, working from the ground up. And that too takes practice. So just do this on the other side. Have your left foot forwards, sink your weight back, and pigeon spreads its wings. Again, maybe recalling images like moving through water. Not forgetting those moments of resetting, settling each time the weight lands in one leg. Maybe noticing there's often an urge to rush. But just remind yourself it's not the same thing as moving quickly. You've got time and space. It's just a moment to come back to central equilibrium. One more time. And then fisherman cast the net. Your hands drop down, push forwards. Remember, working from the ground, your arms following the movement. In this most simple of exercises, there's often the temptation to find that we want to push our arms out here, but just feel that quality of movement and how that will change if you go from here to here artificially. Lose that sense of connection within your body. This time changing to pushing wave, a more compact, dense quality. And this leads us to an awareness of this more resilient sense in body and energy and mind that gradually builds with these practices. Push away. And then going forwards and turning, letting your arms just flatten out, soften your arms and your fingers. Wind blows the willows. Body expanding, contracting, expanding, contracting. In the back of your mind, remember that quality of central equilibrium. Zheng, quality of mind, quality of body, quality of movement and energy. And then when you come in now, push your back knee in, or you can do this going backwards if that's where the space is. Bring your foot in. Feel how your hips hang back here. Step through. Lower your hands down as you move your weight. The same, this is dragonfly skims the water. And again, just take a moment here to reset, to settle in. Step through. And then this time, if it's comfortable, you may be able to just raise your leg a little. Don't let the raising of the leg, the standing on one leg, dominate the movement. It comes at the end of the process, and only if it's comfortable. Dragonfly skims the water. Changing direction if you haven't done so already. Your stability will come from your alignment, from your root, not from straining in your back, or your shoulders, or your arms. And then good. So central equilibrium. The image that I like for central equilibrium is the mountain. Mountains seem to combine many of these qualities. There's a stillness about mountains, and yet at the same time a very dynamic quality. I suppose we can assume that mountains have deep roots. They don't often just fall over easily, and yet they reach upwards and outwards, and so on and so forth. Now, I've mentioned a couple of times this idea of resetting, of coming back. It's rare, I think, for any of us to experience these different qualities of mind and body and energy for more than a few moments. And Tai Chi recognizes that, I think, because it recognizes that when we're going through the expansive, the yang aspect of it, eventually we hit a point of tension. Our attention is going outwards, we get a little bit distracted, but there's this rhythm, this pattern that underlies everything, that draws us back quite naturally. And this final exercise is an illustration of that. It's called Embrace Tiger, Return to Mountain. We can think of the tiger as just the energy of everyday life. There's no sense in which we're trying to reject that, but we're coming back to the mountain. So the hips drop down, pushing up, feeling your arms pushed out. This time bringing them around as though you're going to hold a ball against your chest. Your elbows drop, bringing your hands in, and then hips dropping down, sinking. Embrace Tiger, return to the mountain. Just give yourself a few moments to reflect on how you come back. What is it that draws you back? It's something that you can take with you into your day. Recall in those moments when perhaps things are a little bit hectic, or maybe even not. Maybe even getting into the habit of just every now and then coming back, giving yourself that moment or two stillness and space. One more time. Letting your hands come to your sides, resting on your belly, whichever you're more comfortable with. Standing quietly. Lovely. Thank you very much, everybody. As always, very happy to hear from you if you have any questions at any point. Bye for now.